I was born with a mole at the corner of my mouth. My father said it was a beauty mole. When I was young, I didn't understand, I just felt that my mouth was always in pain. It wasn't until I went to college that my roommate told me that it wasn't a beauty mole, but just a small pimple. After that, I tried all kinds of ways to get rid of it, but less than half a year later, it grew back. My roommate saw that I was worried, so she gave me a strange idea. She said that her family had a tattoo shop and that there was a type of tattoo that could help me get rid of this pimple. At first, I didn't seem to believe it, but she also showed me the carp tattoo on her shoulder. She said that she used to suffer from arthritis, but since she got the carp tattoo, the disease went away on its own. I was so worried that I took the address and went the next day. Their shop was very elaborately decorated, in a classic style. But there was a faint, unpleasant fishy smell in the air. The owner said it was the smell of tattoo ink, but I didn't pay much attention. When I entered the office, the smell became stronger. I covered my nose and asked the owner, "What is this smell?" But he pretended not to hear, just told me to lie down on the bed. Then he went to the table and took out a tattoo needle. At that time, I gradually fell into a state of drowsiness. Suddenly, I felt a sharp pain in my fingertips. Turning my head to look, I saw the tattoo master smiling as he tattooed me. That smile was very strange, like a big mouse. After that, I gradually fell into a complete coma. When I woke up, I found that the snake tattoo was on my back. But the pimple on my lip hurt more. I wanted to question the master, but he only said, "After tonight, the pimple will go away on its own." I thought he was my friend's friend, he wouldn't lie to me. So I agreed to wait a day to see the results. After that, I left some money and returned to the dormitory. It was very late, I was tired, so I went to bed early. In my dream, I suddenly felt a cold hand reach into my pajamas. I opened my eyes with a start and saw a strange man standing next to me. I was scared, quickly raised my left hand to my face, trying to reassure myself that this was just a nightmare. But the next second, he grabbed my wrist, pinning my two hands to the bed. In fear, I shook my head, begging, "Great Immortal, please spare me." The man smiled, quietly saying that he was satisfied with me. Hearing that, I was so scared that I wet the mattress. But he pulled my blanket away. Then, he whispered in my ear that his name was Nokthen. After waking up the next morning, I found that the pimples on my face had completely healed. I stared blankly at the red mark on the bed, realizing that everything last night was not a dream. My friend, Mylon, saw me like this and immediately gave me a slap to wake me up. Then, she stared at the tattoo and asked, "Who did this tattoo for you? Why is there a tattoo of a python?" Then Nokthen bent down, his eyes looking straight at me. His deep eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. I felt my heart beating wildly, and I didn't know why my face was burning. What are you going to do?" I stammered. Nokthen just smiled, then lowered his head closer. "You're such a coward. I just wanted to make sure you were awake and not possessed by a ghost earlier." I blushed, but said nothing, trying to stay calm. "I'm not scared, it's just that everything happened too fast." Nokthen left me, stood up, and walked out. "I have to go prepare some things for the ceremony tonight." "Don't worry too much, just do as I say," I nodded, quietly following him out of the dark room. The morning sunlight shone through the window, but my heart still felt cold. I didn't know when, but I started to lean on Nokthen, feeling safe when he was by my side. Nokthen arranged the offerings, lit incense, and placed them in front of the altar. I quietly observed, feeling a little uneasy. "Nokthen, have I entered another world since I got that tattoo?" He stopped, turned back to look at me with deep eyes. "You have entered a dangerous world, where demons can appear at any time. But don't worry, I will always be by your side." Those words reassured me, but I couldn't help but shiver. I knew that, since I got that snake tattoo, everything had changed forever. I had entered a path of no return, where Nokthen was the only one who could guide and protect me. And from then on, a strange bond between me and Nock then began to form, crossing the boundary between the human world and the spiritual world. After the ceremony was over, I saw Nock then sitting in a corner, his eyes more tired than ever. He looked at me, as if he wanted to say something but remained silent. I hesitantly walked closer. Nock then, are you okay? He nodded slightly. I'm fine. It's just that facing so many souls, sometimes I feel exhausted. I sat down next to him, not knowing how to comfort him. Nock then always exuded a strong and cold aura, but at this moment, I saw the tiredness and loneliness in his eyes. If you're too tired, is there anything I can help you with? I asked, even though I knew full well that I was just a weak human being. Nock then closed his eyes, as if he was lost in a distant dream. Not everything can be helped by force. Sometimes, just the presence of others is enough. Those ghosts and spirits, they drag us into the deep darkness. But when there is someone by my side, I feel like I still have a bit of humanity left, not completely swallowed by the darkness. I listened silently, not knowing what to say. It seemed like there was some kind of sympathy creeping into my heart. Perhaps we were both tied to this world, where strange, terrifying things always lurk. Nock then opened his eyes, looking at me with a gentler gaze than usual. Thank you for being here, even for just a moment. It feels like we are lost people, but found each other in the darkness. Those words moved me. I realized that perhaps I had entered a dangerous world, but Nock then's presence made me feel that I was no longer alone. And even though I didn't know what the future would hold, I decided to continue walking with him, no matter how dangerous the road ahead was, how many ghosts and fears there were. We sat together, in the silence of the dark space, sharing rare moments of peace. Between two worlds, between souls and darkness, I knew that this strange connection would make us stronger and perhaps save each other. After that night, I returned to my daily life, but my heart was still heavy with what I had witnessed. Strange dreams, ghosts, and even the tired eyes of Nock then haunted me. Whether it was day or night, I always felt a mysterious presence hovering around me. One day, while cleaning the house, I discovered an old envelope on the table. It was a letter from an old friend whom I had not contacted for a long time. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence, but when I opened the letter, I realized that the content inside was a message from Nock then. I know you are gradually understanding more about this world. But there are things you have not seen, secrets that even ghosts dare not mention. You must prepare yourself to face those things. If you need anything, just think of me, and I will be by your side. The letter made me feel like I was being pulled deeper into a maze with no exit. The presence of the Jade God, though invisible, was always there. I decided to go see him, but this time to demand answers. I went to the place where we first met, the abandoned house that had become a haven for lost souls. The wooden door creaked as I opened it, the space so cold that it made me shiver. Inside, the Jade God stood there, looking at me with a serious expression. You want to know the truth, right? He asked, his eyes cold but containing a hint of worry. I nodded. I can't live in ignorance forever. You said I need to prepare, so tell me what I need to face. The Jade God sighed, looking out the window. Our world is not just about simple souls like you see. There are also ancient souls, entities that are never mentioned. They hold terrifying power and have the ability to change this world. I felt his words making the air tense. So, what should I do to deal with these entities? You will have to enter an ancient ritual, a ritual that can help you see and touch souls that ordinary people cannot see. But it will also make it impossible for you to return. Once you start, you will forever live in the darkness, never to be able to escape. I fell silent. In that moment, I understood that the road ahead was a dangerous journey, but at the same time, I also knew that I had no way out. I had gone too far to turn back. Okay, I will do it. Tell me where to start. I looked straight into Jade God's eyes, my determination unwavering. He nodded, a faint smile flashing across his lips. Follow me. I will take you to where it all began. And then, amidst the gloom, I followed the Jade God, ready to face the entities from the other world, and also to discover the ultimate truth about the nature of life and death. The Jade God led me out of the abandoned house, into a dense forest where the moonlight filtered through the leaves, creating strange silhouettes. Under the dim moonlight, he began to tell me about the ritual I was about to undergo. This place used to be an ancient village, where people performed mysterious rituals to connect with the spirits of their ancestors. But one day, they summoned something they shouldn't have. Since then, this village disappeared, no one remembered it, and only this forest remained, along with the secret buried deep in the darkness. We continued to walk deeper into the forest until we reached a large ancient tree. At the base of the tree, there was a circle carved into the ground, surrounded by strange symbols that I had never seen before. The Jade God told me to sit in the middle of the circle and close my eyes. Are you ready? Once you start, there is no turning back. I nodded, the feeling of fear gradually giving way to determination. The Jade God began to chant incantations in an ancient language. The wind suddenly picked up, so cold that my skin was numb. Each incantation echoed in my head, as if they were penetrating every corner of my soul. Gradually, I felt myself being pulled into another world. There was no more moonlight, no more forest, just endless darkness. In that darkness, I saw faint spirits drifting by, as if they were watching me, but no one came near. Then from afar, a giant entity began to appear. The entity had no fixed form, it was constantly changing, as if reflecting all my fears. That is the ancient entity you must face, the voice of the Jade God echoed from the void, but I could not see him. If you can overcome it, you will be able to see and control the spirits. But if you cannot, you will be trapped here forever. I had no choice. Step by step, I approached the entity, feeling as if each step was a weight on my chest. I looked straight at it, even though my fear was rising. I began to recite the mantras that the Jade God had taught me, word by word, trying to keep my voice steady despite my trembling body. The giant entity stopped, looking straight at me. Suddenly, it dissolved, and in its place, a feeling of lightness enveloped me. All the fear disappeared, and I felt a strange connection with every spirit around me. I could hear their whispers, know what they had been through, and understand that I had passed the ritual. I opened my eyes, back to the forest. The Jade God stood there, looking at me with a satisfied smile. You did it. From now on, you will live between two worlds, but be careful. This power is a double-edged sword, and if you let your guard down for a moment, you will lose everything. I nodded, knowing that from now on, my life would never be the same again. But regardless, I'm ready to face whatever comes next, because now, I'm no longer afraid. After passing the ritual, I felt a distinct change within me. Everything seemed to become clearer, and I could feel the presence of the spirits around me. With every step I took in the forest, I felt invisible eyes following me, but I no longer felt fear. These spirits were no longer invisible ghosts, they became entities with stories, entities forgotten in time. Nock then stood beside me, his eyes thoughtful. From now on, you will have to learn to listen and master your power. But remember, these spirits can carry hatred and suffering. You must be careful not to let those emotions control you. I looked at him, knowing that this was just the beginning of a long journey. The spirits seemed to accept my presence, someone who could hear their voices. Each spirit has a story, a tragic or terrifying past, and I can feel their intense emotions. Sometimes, I even see glimpses of their lives, painful or joyful moments, their last intense emotions before they disappear from this world.